figured I'll be live in just a second. All right, welcome everybody to the first NaNoWriMo writing workshop here at Fateful Fumble. I am Anita. I play Valeth usually in our in the Kestrels group. Valeth is a mage, an elven former circle mage, and yeah, we've decided to do NaNoWriMo this year, so that's going to be really cool. I'm usually
Hey, lover.
This is the first episode, and most likely I will have a.k.a. cosplay with me on the next future episodes. She couldn't make it today because she's busy getting home from the Euro Cosplay Championships, where she was representing Norway. So it's completely understandable that she's not here. I don't think she'll be home until like at least midnight or something like that. So, you know, cutting her some slack for that, for sure. All right, so I'm just excited to do this, and I'm hoping people are with me in the chat. If you are, let me know. Say hello or anything. If you have any questions about NaNoWriMo or the project that I'm doing, or if you want to tell me what kind of project you will be doing for NaNoWriMo, just put it in the chat, because I would love to know. Yeah. So NaNoWriMo doesn't officially start until the 1st of November, and today is the 30th of October. But because I have a crazy ass schedule and I will be losing several days of NaNoWriMo, I'm just going to start the writing workshop today. And I figured today's subject would be writing preparations. Like, what do you do to prepare yourself for writing a novel? Because, you know, at least I can't just sit down and just start writing a novel willy-nilly at the seat of my pants. I need to have at least, like, a vague plan of what I'm going to be doing, what I'm going to be writing about. So I thought I could talk about that today. And then hopefully that will be somewhat interesting. Somehow. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? If you have any opinions, let me know.
In the living room and turn on the laptop so I don't have to be quiet.
And also, if you hear some talking in the background, that's just my hubby playing Diablo with his buddies. So, you know, life. All right, so that's the welcome and the explanation of this episode out and away. So I figured just first I'll talk a little bit about why I'm doing this. I love writing and I love creating, and I'm also clearly a masochist because I didn't have enough on my schedule already, clearly. So yeah, no, it's just fun, and I've competed in NaNoWriMo several times, but I've only completed a novel once, and I wasn't happy with the end result. I mean, it's not supposed to be perfect. It's just a first draft. You're not supposed to edit or anything, but I just thought the overall story wasn't strong enough. I didn't want to continue editing it and working on it once I finished it. So I want to do it again, and I want to complete a novel, and I want to say that I was able to win NaNoWriMo for a second time around. And yeah, that's basically my motivation for doing this. And so these writing workshops I'm doing to keep myself motivated, to push myself to actually keep writing through the month of November, and also just because I want to get in touch with other people who will be participating in NaNoWriMo. And maybe I'll be able to help you guys out with your stories, or any writing blocks that you have, or maybe you'll be able to help me out. Like, if I'm stuck and I need some advice, maybe you can tell me what to do. I thought I'd also maybe like read excerpts from what I'm working on throughout the month of November, so you can hear how my story progresses. I thought that could be very fun. So that's also a thing I'll be doing. And of course, I'll be discussing with a.k.a. when she's on the show, and like talking about where she is in her story and what kind of problems she's having or what kind of fun she's having, and you know, stuff like that. Yeah. So what am I going to be writing about is the question, I suppose. So I've figured that I will be doing my very first fan fiction novel, or it's sort of fan fiction, sort of not, I guess. I will be writing in the Dragon Age universe, and I will be basing the novel of Valeth, my character from Fateful Fumble. So I'm going to be writing a little bit about her origin story, how she came to be the person she is today, like what her experiences were as a mage in the Ferelden Circle Tower, what it was like to go through the rite of annulment and the harrowing, things like that, because those are, I think, are very interesting points in her life that would probably really be very interesting and fun to write about. And then I'm also going to combine it with some of the adventures that we've had on the podcast. So I figure it will be sort of like, in the present, we will be following Valeth, Ness, and Thyril on their adventures, and mingled in between the present will be like throwbacks or flashbacks to Valeth's life in the tower, which will sort of be relevant to the current adventures that the Kestrels are on. So that's kind of my idea. And so I'll have to like draw on a lot of lore from the Dragon Age universe, obviously, and I'm going to have to work within the timeline of the Dragon Age universe, specifically from Dragon Age Origins, and also kind of a little bit from the Dragon Age Inquisition timeline, just because that's where the main story will be focused on. So yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. And I also think that Ingrid is going to be writing a story about her mage, which is a Tevinter mage called Cassian. So we'll both be doing Dragon Age themed novels about our RPG characters from the Fateful Fumble and Fate's Swain Saga live streamed shows. So hopefully you guys will find it interesting. I don't know. And just, yeah, I just hope you guys want to follow along on the journey and start writing novels of your own and keep us company, because I think it could be a really fun, like, community and group activity to do together. Wow, I talk a lot. I mean, it's only been 7 minutes, but I feel like I've gotten to say so much in those 7 minutes. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, so I'll be doing these writing workshops twice a week. So I'll be doing them on Mondays, so therefore today. And I'll also be doing one on Thursdays. And most likely they will be at 8 o'clock on every Monday and every Thursday for the entirety of November. And I'll, keep you posted if anything should come up, if I should have to change anything or something like that. But that's the plan. Every Monday, every Thursday, 8 o'clock. Central European Standard Time, or UTC +1, which is at 7 p.m. in UK time, and 8 p.m. 8 p.m. UTC. +1. Yeah. Let's see. What was I going to do? Yeah. So I'm curious if there is anyone watching. I would like to know what you guys are planning to write, if you have any ideas or if you have any questions. Remember, you can just put it in the chat and I'll answer you and whatever. But I don't really expect a lot of people to be watching this stream right now, seeing it as it is the first and seeing as November hasn't officially started yet. But I'm doing this mostly for me, so it's good. It's good. So I figured the main topic of today, which I mentioned earlier, is going to be how do you prepare for writing a novel? Especially if you haven't written one before, the task might seem kind of daunting. And my best tips is to have a plan, basically. Like, some people are what you call writing by the seat of your pants kind of writers, which means that they don't really have an outline of the story. They don't write character biographies. They don't plot out things in advance. They just sit down and they just type whatever comes into their mind, and somehow a story is, comes out in the end. That's called writing by the seat of your pants. You just sit down and you just improvise. You just write. And others, again, are very fond of being super meticulous. Like, they will sit down and they will write down, like, okay, so there are 3 acts to my story. This is what will happen in Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And then they will write up, like, sections for each chapter. Chapter 1, this will happen. Chapter 2, this will happen. Chapter 3, this will happen. And then they go through and they write a small short synopsis for every chapter they're going to write. So they have every little detail meticulously planned in advance. And, those are planners. Now me, I personally fall somewhere in between those two. Because I can't write just by the seat of my pants, but I also don't like to have everything planned out into the tiniest minute detail, because that kills some of the creativity for me. It takes out some of the fun. So I like to do a little bit of both. So I will write some short character biographies. I will write this is the kind of perspective I'm going to be using. These are kind of what Act 1, 2, and 3 will be. And that's pretty much it. And then I'll just sit down and improvise and write whatever comes to me, whatever feels right, based off of those loose, like, threads, like the basic, like, framework that I've given myself. So yeah, I'm a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. And I think it's all about finding what is comfortable for you and finding a way of writing that still keeps it fun and entertaining, even though writing is hard work. Like, writing a novel, I'm going to be honest, is really hard work, and it takes a lot of dedication, and you have to, like, I'm going to have to at least write for 2 hours every day for the entire month if I'm going to be able to finish this goal. Most likely I'm going to have to be writing for more than that in the weekends, or whenever I have, like, a free day or some spare time, because November is a jam-packed, really, really busy month for me, just in general. So it's all about scheduling ahead and just figuring out, okay, how much do I need to write and how many hours do I need to complete that goal, and, like, maybe even time yourself. That's also pretty important. So if you break it down, the point of NaNoWriMo is to write 50,000 words by the end of November. And to be able to do that, you need to write like 1,667 words a day. And that is approximately the same as 5 pages in, like, Word or OpenOffice or whatever kind of writing software you use. Or if you write by hand in a little notebook, it'll probably be more than 5 hours. So there's, there are different things you have to think about depending on how you choose to write this stuff. Like, for me, I found that writing on a laptop is the best way to write, because I can just sit in the sofa, I can, feel comfortable, or I can bring the laptop with me wherever I need to go. If I need to be on the move, I can still write in that laptop and it won't be awkward. And it's just easier for me to finish things on a laptop. Now, sadly, I don't have one anymore. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge for me, because I have to use my stationary computer, or I have to write stuff by hand in my notebook. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of both, and probably do some transcribing, which is, it's going to eat up some extra time probably. So it'll be a challenge. I'm going to have to improvise a lot, I think, this time around. But hopefully I'll be able to do it. So fingers crossed. Right. So I hope that kind of helps you guys to get to thinking. Oh, I've got a comment. Robin says, it will be my first time doing NaNoWriMo. I'm excited. I'm excited for you, Robin. I remember the first time I was doing NaNoWriMo, and it was like, I was so nervous that I wasn't going to make it, and I didn't really have a plan, and it was really, really excited. And at the end of it, when I sat there and I had a novel that was my own, even though it wasn't any good, I was like, I did it. I fucking wrote a novel. I am so proud of myself. Like, yeah. So, I'm curious to know, Robin, do you have like a plan for what is your novel going to be about? And have you started preparing for NaNoWriMo? Like, what kind of writer are you? Do you write by the seat of your pants, or do you like to meticulously plan everything? Or are you like me, like you like doing a little bit of both? Curious. Hashtag curious. So yeah, I figured I could show you some of my notes, just how they look like. So what I do, I keep notes in a physical notebook that I can just, you know, check up whenever I'm insecure about, okay, so what was my plan here? What was I going to do about that? Because I find it hard to look through digital documents when it comes to note taking. I like having physical notes. So I've kind of like written up a short summary about like what my story is going to be about, what kind of person I'm going to be writing it in. Just a really, really short outline of what Act 1, 2, 3 is. I've tried to write a few chapter synopses, but I didn't like that, so I'm not going to be using those. Because I didn't like the way they turned out. I also did a writing test where the purpose was to find out if I wanted to write the story in a first-person perspective, or if I wanted to use third-person omniscient. And that was really helpful, just trying to write a page or two in a specific style, just to see which one appealed to me more and worked for me more. So yeah, I figured I would like read one or two of my writing tests to you, just to let you know what that sounds like. So yeah, here, I figure might as well just do that now. Why not? So the writing tests are just that. They're just writing tests. I don't know if I'll be using any of them in my novel at all, or how relevant they're going to be. They were just exercises to see which style felt more natural and lent itself best to my story. So I'll read a little bit from my first person perspective test, and then, you know, you'll know how much I suck at writing. I don't know. Okay. Oh, by the way, I have not edited this at all. This is like a first draft, so it's like no editing whatsoever. I'm dying. I'm not dying right this moment, but I'm living on borrowed time. Red lyrium is coursing through my body, and it's going to kill me. I could die tomorrow, in a few months, or I could have decades left to live. I don't know, and it terrifies me. I guess that's why I've chosen to write this. I feel so mortal, so fragile, and I need to organize my life, my thoughts, everything. I'm a mess, and I don't like it. It's all because of that red bitch. Now, I usually don't use that kind of language, but I have no other words for that bitch. She's the reason why I'm dying, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. I think I would like to start from the beginning, or as close to the beginning as possible. I want to document my life, and to do that, I need to go back to the tower, back to my cage. So that was the writing test for first person, which I thought turned out pretty okay. I mean, it could be better, it could be worse. I don't know. But I kind of liked it. The other one I tried was third person omniscient, which means that you see it, you write from the outside, but you still get to know what characters are thinking on the inside, even though you use he, she, they. So this is kind of another take on it. So this is kind of like how I imagine chapter 1 would start if I use this style. Chapter 1. I hate walking. It's so tiresome. Ness and Cyril shared an exasperated glance as Valeth continued to complain. Just look at the state of my robes. Do you think we have far to go still? Ness and Cyril had been ignoring Valeth's moaning for what was beginning to feel like forever. But Valeth was seemingly oblivious to her effect on the rest of the party. She was actually honestly surprised when Ness finally snapped, turned on her, and barked, "Shut up, woman! Get on my horse!" Valeth flinched, but lit up at the thought of not having to walk any further. "Are you sure?" she asked. Ness furrowed his brow. "Yes," he said, with a kind of exasperation in his voice as he gracefully jumped off the horse. Valeth smiled at him and got on the horse with far less grace and ease than Ness had just displayed. They really had to put in a request for more horses once they got back to HQ, she thought to herself. Traveling on foot was slow, inconvenient, and Valeth just didn't like it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to read of that writing test. They're both pretty exciting to me. I both like them, but I think I'm going to be doing third person omniscient just because I think it will be easier for me to write that way because I've never really been very fond of first person writing. But if you have any feedback on which style you liked the best, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know. Or send me a message later on Facebook or Instagram or whatever if you have any thoughts on what I just read for you. I would be happy to receive feedback. And yeah, so that was my writing tests. I see I have another comment here from Robin. Robin says, I made an outline, but I'm still doubting about the ending and doing character development. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it because I'm really busy during November with school, but we will try our best. Yes. I mean, the important part is that you just make the choice, the decision to try. Because, I mean, life is always busy. It's never going to be the perfect occasion to write. And I think that's where a lot of people end up never actually sitting down to write that novel that they really want to write. Because they just, oh, it's not the time, I'm busy, I have things to do, you know? So NaNoWriMo is a really good excuse to just say, fuck it, you know what? I'm always going to be busy, but this month I'm going to dedicate to writing. So yeah, I mean, I think you can do it, Robin. If you set your mind to it, you can do it. Because remember that, you know, just stay away from the editing, stay away from the backspace button, don't erase things, just write like the wind, because the end result is not supposed to be perfect. It's just supposed to be 50,000 words that you wrote. And then after you finish it, that first draft, then you get to go back and have fun with, you know, editing and fixing things up and making the book more yours, more finished, more polished. Because that's just it. You just need to prove to yourself that you can actually finish that one book. And I honestly think that you can. Yeah. I'm not going to be doing a really long stream today, so I figure I'll probably call it a day at like the half an hour mark if there are no more comments or questions or anything. But I feel like I've given you some insight into how I prepare and how I think and what NaNoWriMo is to me and what I'll be doing. And yeah, like my visions for what's going to happen. I don't want to talk too much about like the whole structure of my book because it's not complete yet, but I really want to take Valeth on a journey and get to know her more as a character, as an elf, as a mage, and just, you know, have fun with it and flesh her out and fully realize her as a character, because I really like her from the Fateful Fumble podcast. I like playing her. I like pretending to be her. She's a cool girl. A little bit snooty and condescending maybe, but nobody's perfect. So yeah. That's pretty much what I had lined up. Seeing as we don't have anyone to discuss with or talk with, this is, you know, this is going to be a very short episode. So I don't know. Will there be more people writing? Do you have any feedback for me? Let me know. I would love to know. And so I'm going to give it 5 more minutes and then I'm going to call it a day. But until Thursday, I thought I would give you a challenge. Seeing as you still have a few days to decide or at least 1 day more to decide if you're doing NaNoWriMo or not. Just if you have an idea, try to write it out. Like, try to make a little bit of a timeline or put up some stuff. Oh, hi, we and Rose. Hey. I was just talking about, like, I'm giving you guys some homework. If you decide to do NaNoWriMo, just if you have a novel idea, just sit down and try to write out like a basic timeline and do some character biographies and stuff, just to like see if you think your idea is going to be, you know, something that you can work with, something that you want to finish, something that could be a full novel, you know? Yeah. I did some writing sample reading recently. So if you go back through the episode, you would... Oh. We and Rose is not doing the challenge, but think I will stick around to listen to the creative process of it all, and a tiny bit because of Fateful Fumble and Valeth. Aw, thank you, we and Rose. I'm just appreciating that people are stopping by the stream. It's so fun. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. As I said, I just read out some samples of some writing tests that I did, just to see if I wanted to write it in first person or third person and stuff like that, and like talked about how to prepare for writing a novel. Yeah. Yes, check the rest of the episode later. So, might try to pick up some tips on fleshing out characters at least. Yeah, well, I can talk a little bit about fleshing out characters. Because I think making characters for stories and novels is a lot like making characters for role-playing games. And the way I do that now, at least, is that I try to find that one thing that is wrong with that specific character. Like I decided that Valeth, one of the first things I decided was that Valeth was going to be sort of a know-it-all. She was going to be a little condescending and a little bit like too smart for her own good, kind of. So she could easily be annoying and get on people's nerves. But she would make up for it by actually being useful and being helpful to the party, and also being generally kind. So I that's usually what I do. I find something that is not so charming or a flaw with a character, and then I find something that kind of makes up for that flaw. So that makes characters feel more real to me. And then it's kind of like deciding, okay, so Valeth was supposed to be a mage from the get-go just because I like playing mages. So I had to decide, okay, so what kind of mage is she? What does she dabble in? what's her specialties. And of course, it would have been a completely different character if Valeth was a fighter or a rogue. It would have changed her a lot, but because she was a mage, and because I had decided that she was going to be a know-it-all, that she would have a wide spectrum of talents or specializations. So she doesn't just focus on primal magic or healing magic or entropy magic. She dabbles in a little bit of everything, just because she likes to know a lot about everything. She doesn't want to just, you know, be narrow and to be too specialized. That's not her thing. She wants to be multi-purpose and useful. So that was also something that I had to think about when I was making her. And that's kind of something that I do with other characters too when I make them for stories. Like, she's going to be friends with a Templar at her old circle tower. I've decided that. There's no romance, I don't think. Because she was very inexperienced with romance in general in the campaign, so it won't fit. But she's going to have a friend that is a Templar in the tower, like a best friend sort of thing, like they're buddies. And I haven't given him a name yet, but I know what kind of person he is just because he has a certain flaw that I've given him. And then he has some other things that weigh up for that. Like, he's very loyal and helpful, but he is maybe a little bit too naive and he's not very good with boundaries. So that kind of made him into that kind of person. And also, yeah, so I don't know, is that helpful? Does that make sense to you? Because I'm just babbling on here and into the void, really, by myself. So I'm looking forward to having Ingrid Beast on the next episodes, just so I have someone to bound off of verbally. Because I feel like I start to ramble after a while. Other techniques is just, you know, if you know that a character is going to be a villain, for example. Villains can be really, really hard to write because people have a hard time relating to evil characters, and they usually end up like writing people who do evil for the sake of evil, like, I want world domination because I'm evil, you know, that sort of thing. And I think the best way to write villains is to think of them as they don't see themselves as villains. They see themselves as always being the hero of their own story. In their mind, they're doing what is right. To them, what they're doing is not necessarily evil. It's just the right thing to do in their given circumstance, or they have a desire that justifies the means. So, you know, their evil is justified in some way or manner. So that's also something that's interesting to think about when you're writing characters. Let's see, I have more questions or comments. We and Rose says, I really do think this is going to be interesting just because when you hear about characters briefly or they only appear through art or at a certain path in an RPG game, there are so many sides that you never get to see. Yes, that's true. I think Valeth will become a lot more three-dimensional now that I'm writing this. And hey, Rick! No, I mean, I haven't talked a lot about it, but me and Ingrid will be doing this for some time forwards. Hopefully she will be able to join me on Thursday, and maybe for the you know, foreseeable November future thing. I'm rambling again. So I'm glad you're here, Rick, because I had like there's something that's been like nagging at me because I'm writing about Valeth, which means that I will be writing about our campaign and the setting and everything, and like you're kind of the co-creator of, or we're all the co-creators of this world, and like how do you feel about me and Ingrid writing novels about things that have been happening in the podcast, or things that will affect the story in the podcasts and things like that? I would like to know. I'm curious. I haven't really talked to you about this before, so would have been good. Yeah, nice. I think it's going to be fun if we can make this work. But I'm doing this to motivate myself to finish the novel, because if I don't have something pushing me, I think I would just end up like maybe writing half of it and then like, I'm too busy, I can't make the time. You know, that kind of thing. Well, also, Rick, since you're here, you could always join in if you want. Like, it's always nice to have someone to bound off about, and you're really good at, you know, creating characters and telling stories and stuff like that. So maybe you have something cool to add to my nonsense. Let's see. So I've been going for like 35 minutes. Rose says he will have a sneaky way of torturing you guys after this. Yes, he'll get a lot of insights into the psyche of Valeth, I'm pretty sure, once we really get into this project. Just writing about her past and her present and just mingling that all together, it's going to be a challenge, especially with the timelines from the games and all the lore that I'm going to have to keep in mind for this project, and also remembering all of the conversations from the podcasts and all of the chronological events that I'm going to have to sort out and keep track of, and yeah, it's gonna be a lot. Let's see, I have some messages. Sorry for the silence, I just had to check something out on my screen because it kept popping up. Alright, yeah, so I'm back. Well, I hadn't really prepared anything more for this evening, so, and unless you guys have some more questions, I think I'm going to end it there because, well, I don't want to cheat and write, you know, or talk too much about my novel before November officially begins. And I also want to save something for when Ingrid comes on and we're able to like discuss our novel ideas and what we've been working on and things like that. And also there's a limit to how long I can sit here and just talk and talk and talk and talk into the void just by myself. Because it starts to become like a narcissistic drone eventually. Like I hear myself talking in my own head, and it gets weird up in there after a while. Yeah. Yeah, so I think I can end the stream by maybe reading some more from my writing test that I did, if you guys are interested. But I don't really have a very good way to drop in there. No, I'm not gonna read anything more. You'll just have to go back to the beginning of the episode or the middle of the episode if you want to hear me reading out my stupid writing tests. Yeah, that's all for today. I'll be back on Thursday at 8 p.m. UTC +1, or that's 7 p.m. UK time, and it's also 8 p.m. Norwegian time. And hopefully I'll have Ingrid Beast with me or some other guest that we can talk NaNoWriMo about. Yes, you're right, Rose. A pre-stream like this doesn't need to be super long anyways. Just a brief intro is quite nice. That is true. Brevity is sometimes good. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to end it here, and I hope I will see you again on Thursday when I will actually have written some more stuff, some actual novel stuff that I can share with you and talk about how I think this project is going to be, you know, further on through the month. So yeah, thanks for watching so far, and I hope you feel inspired, or that you learned something, or that you at least had fun watching this, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye!